The upscale Manhattan cafe buzzed with muted conversation and clinking cutlery until the sharp crash of porcelain silenced the room. A young waitress, trembling, stood over a shattered cup, her face ghost white as she stared at the woman she had just served. Ava Sinclair. Gasps rippled through the crowd as the waitress muttered, "It's you," her voice hoarse with disbelief. Ava blinked, confused, her fork frozen mid-air. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" she asked gently. The waitress stumbled back, eyes wide. "You look just like her, just like Evelyn Sinclair." The name landed like a balm. Ava's breath hitched, the name of her long-dead mother rarely uttered outside hushed family secrets. The cafe owner rushed over, apologizing profusely, but Ava barely noticed. Her world tilted. Why would a stranger, barely 20, shaking, know her mother's name? Ava rose slowly, heart pounding. In the silence, the waitress whispered, "You were never supposed to come here." The entire cafe watched as Ava stepped toward her. "Who are you?" Ava demanded. The girl looked up, tears brimming. "Your life. It's built on a lie." The silence lingered as Ava and the waitress locked eyes. Seconds passed, but they felt like hours. Finally, the girl turned and fled toward the kitchen. Ava instinctively followed, pushing past a startled waiter. The kitchen was hot and bustling, chefs shouting, flames rising, but all motion ceased as the girl collapsed against the wall. "Talk to me," Ava said firmly, stepping closer. The girl looked up. "You're Evelyn's daughter." She was my mother too." Ava recoiled as if struck. "That's not possible. My mother died when I was a baby." The girl shook her head, tears falling freely now. "She didn't die. She was taken, hidden. And your whole life, was orchestrated to keep you away from the truth." The noise of the kitchen seemed distant, the air too thick to breathe. Ava whispered, "Who did this?" The girl's voice broke. "Your father?" Ava staggered back. The room spun. Everything she believed had cracked in a single moment. Ava stumbled out of the kitchen, her hands shaking. Patrons stared, but she didn't care. Outside, the city hummed, oblivious to her unraveling reality. She leaned against a lamppost, trying to breathe. Evelyn alive? A secret sister? And her father, the man she adored, behind it all? Her phone buzzed. A message from her father's assistant, "Board dinner at 7. Don't be late." She stared at it, numb. Her life had felt fractured before. Now it felt like a lie. Her driver pulled up, but she waved him off. She needed space. She walked. Past storefronts, people and voices. Every step felt heavier. The buildings blurred. She kept hearing the girl's voice. "She didn't die. You were kept from the truth." A memory surfaced. Her mother's lullaby, one she hadn't heard since childhood. Ava paused. Could that have been a clue? She had to know more. And she knew exactly where she had to go. The Sinclair penthouse was perched above the clouds, glass walls, marble floors, and silence that echoed wealth. Ava entered slowly. Her father was away, as usual. She wandered into the study, his sanctuary, and began opening drawers. Years of unanswered questions stirred within her. Tucked between stock portfolios and embossed invitations, she found it. A photograph. 2 little girls, herself and someone else, identical in age, playing in a sun-drenched garden. On the back, a scrawled note. Summer 2002, A and E. Her fingers trembled. A and E, Ava. And Evelyn? No, Evelyn was her mother. Then who was the other girl? Suddenly, footsteps echoed from the hallway. Ava quickly hid the photo and closed the drawer. Her stepmother entered, all diamonds and disdain. "You're early," she said coolly. Ava forced a smile. "Just visiting old memories." Her stepmother raised an eyebrow. "Some things are better left buried." Ava didn't blink. Some things refuse to stay buried. Ava stood at the penthouse window, gazing over the city. The skyline no longer felt majestic, it felt ominous. Her reflection stared back, eyes full of doubt. How much of her life had been manipulated? Her father's voice, always calm and commanding, echoed in her head. "Trust is everything, Ava." But now that trust had teeth. The waitress's face haunted her. She remembered the way her voice broke on the word sister. Ava pulled out her phone and scrolled through public records, court filings, anything. She wasn't sure what she hoped to find, but she had to try. Nothing. No trace of Evelyn after 1999. It was as if she'd been erased. Ava exhaled sharply. This wasn't just about betrayal. It was about control. Her father had the power to rewrite stories. But not this time. Not hers. She turned from the window, her resolve hardening. If Evelyn was still out there, Ava would find her. And no secret would stay hidden. The next morning, Ava sat curled on a park bench in Central Park, her coffee, untouched and growing cold. The city moved on without her. Joggers, dogs, strollers. But she sat still, caught between the past and a truth clawing its way to the surface. She replayed the waitress's words, "You were never supposed to come here." They looped like a haunting melody. She thought of her mother, the warmth of her voice in old recordings, the mysterious silence that followed her death. Was it all an illusion? Ava had always felt different, like a guest in her own life. Growing up, in the Sinclair mansion, she never quite belonged, despite her father's curated affection. Now, it all made sense. Her heart ached not just for the truth, but for the childhood she never truly had. She whispered, "Who were you, Mom? And why did they hide you from me?" A single tear slid down her cheek. The city didn't pause, but Ava had. Ava returned to the cafe, determined to find the waitress, her supposed sister. But the manager said she had quit. "Left a note," he said, handing her a folded napkin. Ava opened it slowly. "Meet me where the story began. Midnight. Alone." No name, no location. Just a clue only Ava could understand. She drove for hours, retracing childhood memories until it clicked. An abandoned house in upstate New York, where she and her parents once vacationed. At midnight, she arrived. The house stood like a ghost from her past, crooked shutters and overgrown ivy. A light flickered inside. Her heart pounded as she stepped onto the porch. The door creaked open before she touched it. Inside stood the waitress, pale, exhausted but resolute. "You came," she said softly. Ava nodded. "You said we're sisters. Prove it." The waitress reached into her coat and pulled out a faded photograph. Two girls. One unmistakably Ava Dat Hole. The other, the waitress herself. Inside the old house, lit only by a flickering lantern, Ava and the waitress sat opposite each other on a dusty sofa. The photograph lay between them like an accusation. "My name is Eliza," she said. "Our mother, Evelyn, was forced to give us up. But she didn't give up both of us. She kept me, hid me." Ava struggled to breathe. "Why didn't she come for me?" Eliza's voice cracked. "She tried, but your father, he made her disappear, covered it all, lied to the press, said she died, and you were raised by him, under his rules, under his version of the truth." Ava whispered, "And you've been hiding all this time?" Eliza nodded. "Waiting, watching, until I found you." The lantern flickered again. The air was thick with silence. Ava reached for the photograph, then looked Eliza in the eyes. "Why now?" Eliza's response was simple, devastating. "Because he's about to do it again, and this time he's after me." They wandered the house together, floorboards creaking under each step. In one room, an old rocking chair swayed gently, disturbed by the wind or memory. Ava picked up a music box on a cracked dresser. It played a lullaby, one she knew too well. Eliza joined in humming. Ava froze. "Where did you learn that?" she asked. Eliza smiled sadly. "Mom used to sing it every night." Ava felt tears rise. The song had lived in her dreams, faded and distant. Now, it was real. They stood in silence as the music box wound down. Ava touched the peeling wallpaper. We played here. We were here together, weren't we? Eliza nodded. Before he separated us. Ava turned sharply. Why did he do it? Why take me and leave you? Eliza's eyes turned cold. Because I reminded him of her. And you? You were a fresh start. The weight of that truth nearly broke Ava Dat's. But instead, it sharpened her will. Before Ava left the house, she turned back to Eliza. Why did you wait so long to tell me? Eliza hesitated. Because I needed to be sure you were ready. That you could handle the truth. And because I was scared. Ava nodded. You're not alone anymore. They stood at the threshold, two daughters of the same mother, raised in separate worlds, bound now by fire. He won't stop, Eliza warned. He's powerful, protected. Ava's voice was quiet but firm. Then we expose him. Together. They shook hands, more a vow than a greeting. The house groaned behind them as they stepped out into the fog. As Ava drove back to the city, her mind raced. Her life had been a curated gallery of lies, and the frame was shattering. But now she had something she hadn't before. A partner. A sister. And together they would burn down the lies. No more secrets. No more silence. Ava sat in the back corner of a public library, cloaked by shadows and silence. On the table lay newspaper clippings, financial reports, and old interviews featuring her father, Jonathan Sinclair. The deeper she dug, the more the mask slipped. Beneath his polished philanthropy were buried stories. Business partners who vanished, journalists silenced, an offshore company tied to political donors. Eliza leaned over her shoulder whispering, "He's not just a liar, Ava. He's dangerous." Ava whispered back, "If we're going to take him down, we need more than photos and memories." Eliza slid over a manila envelope. "I found this in Mom's old storage unit. It's a list, names, dates, amounts. He paid people to disappear." Ava stared at the document, her heart racing. One name stood out, Detective Mason Bell. He had investigated Evelyn's disappearance, and was later declared missing. Ava stood. "We find Bell, or what's left of him." The truth wasn't buried. It had been silenced. They found him in a trailer park 2 hours outside the city, older, disheveled, and hiding behind a whiskey bottle. Detective Mason Bell, once decorated, now broken. "I told everyone the truth," he muttered, eyes bloodshot. No one wanted to hear it. Ava sat across from him on a threadbare sofa, holding the photo of her and Eliza. "You investigated my mother's disappearance." Bell looked up slowly. "Evelyn Sinclair. They said she drowned, but there was no body. I kept digging. Then threats came, my pension vanished, my wife left." He pointed at Ava. "Your father is a shadow dealer. He buys silence." Eliza said, "We want the truth, and we'll make it public." Bell laughed bitterly. "That truth will cost lives, yours, mine, everyone's." Ava leaned forward. "Then let's make it worth it." He stared at her, really looked. She looked just like you, and she fought like hell. Ava clenched her jaw. "So will I." Back in the city, Ava attended the Sinclair Foundation Gala, her father's crown jewel. Glittering lights, champagne and hypocrisy. Ava smiled for cameras, masked in satin and poise, but her mind churned. Hidden beneath her designer clutch was a voice recorder. "You sure about this?" Eliza's voice echoed in her earpiece from the van outside. "You're surrounded by vipers." Ava whispered, "Let's see if they bite." Her father stood at the podium, speaking about legacy and integrity. Ava watched him, the perfect mask, polished lies. Then he said it, "Family is our greatest treasure." Ava's jaw tightened. The crowd applauded. Her fingers hovered over the recorder. Not yet. Too soon. She needed the right moment. A woman brushed past her, one of her father's longtime aides. Ava grabbed her gently. Who really wrote his speech? The woman froze. Ava leaned in. Tell me, before I make the next headline yours. The aide paled. Meet me after midnight. Bring no one. After the gala, Ava met the aide in a quiet rooftop garden overlooking the East River. The woman trembled as she lit a cigarette. He made me forge signatures, seal deals under fake identities. Evelyn tried to expose him, so he had her institutionalized under a fake name. Ava froze. She's alive? The woman hesitated. I don't know. She was transferred. I tried to track her but... She handed Ava a folder. Inside, medical records, a false psychiatric report, and a location, Halberd Private Clinic. Eliza's voice crackled over the earpiece. Halberd? That place is a fortress. Ava closed the folder. Then, we bring it down. The woman touched her arm. Be careful. He'll know it was me. Ava nodded. We'll protect you. As she left, Ava turned to the skyline, the city humming below her. Her father hadn't just rewritten her life. He had erased people. But not anymore. The reckoning had begun. 2 days later, Ava and Eliza drove through the woods outside the city toward Halberd Clinic. The gate was tall, sterile, unforgiving. You sure she's here? Ava asked. Eliza tightened her grip on the steering wheel. If she's not, someone knows where she is. Inside the car, blueprints of the clinic, security patterns, and patient logs were spread across the dash. It's like a prison, Ava whispered. Eliza replied, That's the point. They parked behind a row of pines and watched from a distance. Guards patrolled. Cameras turned on mounted rails. We're not ready, Ava said. We will be, Eliza replied. They weren't just up against secrets anymore. They were up against a system designed to bury truth. As dusk settled, Ava stepped out of the car, staring through the trees at the building that might hold her mother, or her past. Either way, she would not turn back now. Not after what had been taken. Ava sat in her childhood bedroom, the one that hadn't changed since she was 12. Satin pillows, trophies for piano recitals, a framed photo of her and her father. Now, it all felt like set dressing for a lie. Her phone buzzed. Eliza, be careful. I don't trust her. The hair was Lena, Ava's godmother and her father's longtime advisor. Lena had called earlier. We need to talk. Privately. Ava agreed. She didn't trust Lena either, but something in her voice sounded cracked. Outside, a car pulled up. Ava stared into the mirror one last time, her own reflection foreign. If Lena knew the truth, why stay silent for so long? Why now? Ava opened the door just as Lena stepped in, her usually sleek hair pulled back hastily, eyes bloodshot. We're past the point of lies, Ava said. Lena nodded. You deserve the truth. But it's going to destroy everything you thought you knew. Ava replied coldly. Then let it burn. Lena stood in the hallway trembling. Your father made me promise, swore me into silence. Ava didn't move. Why? Lena's voice cracked. Because I saw Evelyn the night she tried to run. Ava's breath caught. Lena continued. She wasn't mentally ill. She wasn't unstable. She was scared. She found documents, real estate fraud, laundering through the foundation. She came to me, begged me to help take it public. She wiped a tear. I told Jonathan. I thought he'd protect her. But that night she vanished, and you were told she was dead. Ava asked quietly. And you just watched? Lena's knees buckled as she sat. I thought I was protecting you. That if you grew up away from the truth you'd be safe. Ava's voice trembled. You let me love a man who destroyed my mother. Lena looked up. He destroyed more than that, and now he's coming for Eliza. You have to stop him, Ava, before she disappears too. Back in the Sinclair building, Ava accessed her father's private archive using a stolen keycard Lena had handed her. The room was below ground, cold, metallic, and sterile. Shelves of boxes and servers lined the walls. Ava flipped through files until she found it, a folder labeled A-Das Confidential. Inside were psychiatric assessments, photos of Evelyn restrained, and transcripts of interviews, fabricated, all of them. Then another folder, Project Mirage. It contained names, bribes, surveillance logs. Eliza's name appeared. So did Ava's. He was tracking both of us, she whispered. She pulled out her phone and began photographing everything. Eliza's voice came through the earpiece. You okay? Ava replied, he didn't just bury Evelyn. He's rewritten everything, our childhoods, our identities. Eliza asked, do we release it? Ava stared at the truth in her hands. No, not yet. I want him to see it. I want him to know I know. That evening, Ava entered her father's office unannounced. Jonathan Sinclair looked up from a crystal tumbler of bourbon, unsurprised. Ava, he said coolly, you look like her. Ava shut the door behind her. You lied to me, my whole life. He sipped. I gave you a life worth living. You destroyed hers, she snapped. And now, you want to erase Eliza too. He rose slowly. You're emotional. That's why I kept things from you. You weren't ready. Ava pulled a folder from her coat and tossed it on the desk. I am now. He opened it, glanced at the contents, then smiled. You think this will bring me down? I built this city's future. Ava replied. Then you'll watch it fall brick by brick. He stepped closer. You're my daughter. You owe me. Ava's voice broke, but didn't falter. No. You owe all of us. And I'm coming to collect. She turned and walked out. Ava returned to Eliza's apartment, emotionally raw. Eliza was waiting on the fire escape, city lights shimmering behind her. Did you tell him? She asked. Ava sat beside her, shoulders heavy. He didn't deny any of it, not one word. Eliza said quietly, then he knows it's over. Ava looked out over the city. No, he thinks I'll blink, that I'll stay quiet to protect the family name. Eliza touched her shoulder. You're not him, Ava. Silence stretched between them, filled only by the hum of traffic below. He made you believe you were powerless, Eliza added. But you're not. Ava turned to her. Neither are you. For the first time they smiled. Not in joy, but in defiance. Whatever comes next, Ava said, we face it together. Eliza nodded. Sisters. In that moment, blood didn't matter, truth did. And as the wind swept around them, they knew. The real fight was just beginning. Ava and Eliza crouched behind the tall grass as the Halberd Clinic loomed under a stormy dusk sky. The rain hadn't started yet, but the wind carried a warning. Security rotations are every 6 minutes, Eliza whispered, watching the tablet syncs to their drone feed. North Wing is blind between cameras. Ava zipped up her black jacket. Then that's our door. They sprinted silently to the perimeter wall, vaulting over with practiced motion. Every heartbeat echoed louder than the next. Ava thought of Evelyn. Somewhere beyond those walls, maybe drugged, maybe worse. A guard rounded a corner. They froze. He passed. Eliza mouthed, Go. Inside, the halls were antiseptic and dim. Ava's hand hovered near her pepper spray. She wasn't a spy, wasn't trained, but the truth had trained her in other ways. As they reached the internal files room, Ava said quietly, We get proof, we get her, and we get out. Eliza nodded. Or die trying. They moved fast through back corridors, until Eliza stopped at a locked steel door. Room 43, she whispered. Ava swiped the stolen access card. Click. The door creaked open. Inside, the room was shockingly plain. White walls, a single bed, and a woman sitting quietly at the window. She turned. Silver hair framed a face Ava knew only from photos and dreams. Evelyn. Her eyes flickered. Confused. Then, recognition. Ava, she whispered. Ava dropped to her knees. Mom. Evelyn's voice shook. They said you were dead. Ava's heart broke. No, Mom. I'm here. Eliza stepped forward, tears already falling. Evelyn looked at her too. Both of you. She reached out, trembling hands. They rushed to her, embracing. We're getting you out of here, Ava promised. Evelyn whispered, Hell never let you. Ava pulled back, fierce. He can't stop us, not anymore. Evelyn, finally safe in their arms, began to cry, for all the years lost. They couldn't leave yet. In the records room, Ava tore open drawers while Eliza watched the hallway. Inside, files marked patient falsification, detailed false reports, drugging schedules, even falsified death certificates, one with Evelyn's name on it. This is it, Ava said. Everything we need to bring the system down. Eliza stuffed documents into a waterproof bag. Let's move. An alarm blared. Red lights pulsed overhead. They know, Eliza said. Ava clutched the evidence. We get Mom and run. They bolted through halls with Evelyn between them, guards flooding corridors from every direction. Ava pulled Eliza behind a wall alcove. Back entrance, southwest. Evelyn gasped, but kept moving. They burst through a metal door into a field behind the clinic. A floodlight snapped on behind them. Go, Ava shouted. The woods ahead offered only one thing, a chance at escape, or a final stand. The forest was alive with searchlights and shouting voices. Ava ran, her lungs burning, Evelyn's hand gripped tightly in hers. Eliza led the way, weaving through thickets and low branches. Behind them, dogs barked and radios crackled. A helicopter's spotlight swept the treetops. We're not gonna make it. Eliza gasped. Ava pulled her down behind a fallen tree. We will. She pulled out her phone, live feed uploading to a secure drive. The evidence was already going public. We just have to survive long enough for it to hit the news cycle. A beam of light passed just over their heads. Evelyn whispered, You shouldn't have come for me. Ava squeezed her hand. You're why we had to. They moved again, this time toward the road where a contact waited in a black SUV. Headlights flashed. There! Eliza yelled. They sprinted as guards closed in. One final push. One final chance. The SUV roared onto the highway, tires hissing against the wet asphalt. Inside, Ava clutched Evelyn's hand while Eliza monitored the upload from her laptop. It's Liv, she said. Everything's out. Across the city, newsrooms received encrypted drops, photos, documents, footage from Halberd. The Sinclair Foundation was about to burn. Ava stared out the window at the rain-slick skyline. Her world, once pristine, fabricated, now cracked wide open. Hell try to spin it, Evelyn warned. Hell deny everything. Ava said, He can try, but we're not invisible anymore. Eliza looked up. We just took down a machine. Sirens passed them in the opposite direction. They'd bought time, but not safety. Ava knew this wasn't over. But for the first time, they weren't running from the truth. They were running with it. We expose him tonight, Ava said, and tomorrow we rebuild. Eliza smiled. From ashes. Evelyn whispered, Finally. The truth breathes. Morning shattered the skyline with cold, blinding light. News outlets exploded. Headlines scrolled across every screen. Sinclair Empire under fire, whistleblower leak, exposes corruption at Halberd, missing woman found after 2 decades. In her penthouse, Ava sat beside Evelyn and Eliza, their silence louder than the chaos outside. The evidence had done its work. Ava's phone buzzed nonstop. Press, politicians, lawyers. Her father was silent. No public statement. No denial. Yet, dial. Eliza paced. He's buying time. He's going to strike back. Evelyn whispered, He always does. Ava stood. Then we stay ahead of him. We go on record. We go public. Our faces, our names, no more hiding. Eliza looked at her, stunned. You're ready, To speak. Ava nodded. Not for vengeance, for truth. For every name in those files. For Mom. The city trembled under its own weight. And for once, Ava wasn't under it. She was standing on it, ready to make it listen. The studio lights were hot, the room sterile. A major news anchor sat across from Ava. You're saying your father orchestrated a cover-up, institutionalized your mother, and laundered millions through a non-profit? Ava looked straight into the camera. Yes, and we have proof. Documents, testimony, timelines. This wasn't an accident. It was a machine built to erase people who threatened his image. The anchor hesitated. Why come forward now? Ava's voice didn't shake. Because silence became a prison. And I'm done living in it. The broadcast went viral within minutes. Online, Eliza released a matching statement, confirming her identity and detailing Evelyn's survival. The world listened. Some gasped. Others doubted. But none could ignore it. Ava stepped out of the studio afterward, into flashing cameras. She didn't flinch. Miss Sinclair, are you afraid? A reporter asked. Ava smiled slightly. Not anymore. The truth was a flood, and she was no longer afraid to swim. Jonathan Sinclair stood in his boardroom, flanked by lawyers, PR agents, and executives, all in chaos. This is a smear campaign, one advisor insisted. Jonathan said nothing, staring at the live broadcast of Ava's interview. His daughter, his legacy, was undoing him in real time. One lawyer warned, there's enough here for congressional subpoenas. If the foundation goes under, so do your holdings. Jonathan's face remained unreadable. Find out who helped her, trace every leak. But it was too late. Shareholders withdrew. Sponsors pulled out. A scheduled gala was cancelled. Online, protests erupted outside Halbert Clinic. The very empire he built, brick by lie, was coming undone. For the first time, his control slipped. One advisor murmured, "She's your blood. You raised her." Jonathan turned coldly. And she'll regret forgetting that. But even he knew, regret had changed sides. And now the hunter had become the hunted. Ava stared at the police report in her hands. Eliza's apartment had been broken into. Files ransacked. Nothing stolen, but a message had been sent. Evelyn trembled. "He won't stop, Ava." Ava replied, "Neither will we." That night, she met with a federal investigator. "This is bigger than one man," he told her. "What you've started, it's going to get ugly." Ava handed over the last of the documents. "Then let's finish it." Leaving the building, Ava found Eliza waiting across the street. "We okay?" she asked. Ava nodded. "We're being watched, but we're also being heard." Eliza smiled through fatigue. "He's scared." Ava looked up at the courthouse lights. He should be. The truth had taken pieces of them. Years. Family. Peace. But in return, it had given them something priceless, their voices. They didn't come this far to vanish again. At a press conference downtown, surrounded by reporters and flashing lights, Ava stood at the podium. Eliza and Evelyn stood just behind her. "This isn't just about one man or one family," Ava declared. "It's about every institution that enabled silence, about every person told their truth didn't matter." Cameras clicked. Microphones leaned in. "We didn't choose this war, but we won't walk away from it either." The crowd murmured as Evelyn stepped forward. She was frail, but her voice didn't waver. "They tried to bury me, but I'm still here." Applause erupted, raw and defiant. Eliza added, "We're not victims, we're survivors." In that moment, the story transformed. No longer a scandal, it became a movement. Ava met the press with steel in her gaze. Her family's power had built towers. Now, it was building truth. And the world was finally ready to listen. Weeks later, the courtroom buzzed with tension. Cameras were barred, but reporters waited outside like vultures. Inside, Ava sat beside Evelyn and Eliza, their hands intertwined. Across the aisle, Jonathan Sinclair stared forward, stone-faced, flanked by attorneys. The judge entered. Silence fell like a curtain. In the matter of Sinclair v. State of New York, the clerk began, "We find the defendant guilty." Gasps followed. Ava didn't flinch. Eliza gripped her hand tighter. Jonathan's face cracked for the first time. Not anger, not shock, but something hollow. Ava stood, eyes locked on her father. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. It was over. The judge continued, but Ava barely heard. The noise faded. All she could feel was the weight lifting, the chains breaking, not just for her, but for Evelyn, for Eliza, and for every truth that had been silenced. Justice had finally answered back. That night, Ava stood alone in her father's study. The room was untouched since his arrest, glass decanter half full, polished bookshelves towering in silence. She ran her fingers across the mahogany desk, stopping at a framed photo, her as a child on his shoulders smiling. She studied it, not with grief but with clarity. That version of her didn't know the truth, but this one did. She opened the drawer and found one last item, Evelyn's wedding ring, hidden in a velvet box. She took it, closed the drawer gently, and turned out the lights. No fire. No rage. Just peace. Sometimes justice wasn't a bang. It was the quiet that followed. As she left the room, Ava whispered to the dark, "I'm not yours anymore." The door clicked shut behind her, and for the first time in her life, it didn't feel like walking away. It felt like walking forward. Eliza stood before a clerk at City Hall, nervous fingers tapping the counter. Ava was beside her, calm, reassuring. "You sure about this?" Ava asked. Eliza nodded. "I've been hidden under someone else's story long enough." She signed the paperwork. A new ID. A new name. Eliza Sinclair Evelyn. Not to carry his name, she said, but hers. Ava smiled, moved. She'd be proud. Eliza laughed softly. "I think she already is." In that moment, Eliza wasn't just Ava's sister, she was her equal, her partner, a survivor stepping into the light. They exited the building into the bright sun, past reporters and flashing bulbs. But Eliza didn't shrink this time. Neither did Ava. A journalist shouted, "Will you rebuild the foundation?" Ava paused. "No," she said. "We'll build something better. From the ground up." They walked down the steps together, two sisters, two legacies rewritten. And no one else would write their story again. On a quiet hill outside the city, Evelyn sat beneath an old oak tree, watching the sun dip behind the skyline. Ava and Eliza flanked her on each side, silent. "I never thought I'd see a sky like this again," Evelyn murmured. Ava leaned her head on her mother's shoulder. "We wouldn't be here without you." Evelyn smiled gently. "I wasn't strong." Eliza took her hand. "You were alive. That's all we ever needed." The breeze was warm, the air filled with birdsong. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't cinematic. It was real. And that was enough. They watched until the last golden ray slipped below the horizon. No headlines, no camera crews, just the three of them, whole at last. Evelyn whispered, "I lost everything. But I found you." Ava kissed her cheek. "We found each other." Eliza laughed softly. "And we're not losing each other again." The sky turned lavender. The past finally set. In the final moments, Ava walked alone along the East River promenade, morning fog curling off the water. No guards. No headlines. Just the hum of a world that no longer held her hostage. She passed a mother with a stroller. A young couple laughing. Life moved forward. And so did she. In her coat pocket, Evelyn's ring rested like an anchor. Of pain, of truth, of strength. Her phone buzzed. Eliza's message, "Foundation seed grants approved. You coming to the ribbon cutting?" Ava smiled, typing back, "I'll be there. Just needed one last walk." She stopped at the railing, watching the water shimmer. Her reflection looked different now. Not because her face had changed, but because she finally saw herself clearly. No more shadows. No more lies. Just Ava Sinclair. On her own terms. She turned from the river, the wind catching her coat, and walked toward whatever came next, free.